Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Hold the Ball. Hope you guys well. Thanks again for tuning in. As you can see, I've got two flags behind me because I'm actually going to be doing a live as well later on, obviously, early hours in the morning. It'll be France who will be against versing Greece. I've got a special guest with me, Brad. Look, I don't want to introduce him. I'll let him do it himself. So, Brad, over to you, man. What's been happening? What are you about? And again, welcome to the show.
Cheers, thanks for having me on. So it's Brad from Rugby League Wrap-Up. I try to do weekly reviews of all things Warriors. Been dabbling a little bit on the Kiwi side of things for the World Cup. Not as far out as you, following everybody. But and I also host a show called The Standoff on New Zealand Sport Radio every Wednesday, and we're going through the World Cup as well. So every Wednesday night, I think it's 8 p.m. New Zealand time, we'll be going through a bit like what we're doing tonight, going through all the World Cup games and previewing the ones for the next week.
Awesome, as and again, guys, those there in the comments, please feel free to ask questions. Also, as well, Brad, as you guys can see on the screen down below, you follow him on Instagram. That's Brad Inga3, as well as on Facebook, Inga's League Wrap-Up. Good content creator, and hey, more importantly, he's a Warrior supporter. You know what it's about, and we love that. All right. So as we know, 5 games have gone, and thus far, I suppose you can say a lot of surprises. Maybe a few games going one way, which is what we expected. But I guess the first game we'll be talking about, England versus Samoa. Brad, over to you. What were your thoughts? And give me your, wow, what happened there?
Complete shock, to be honest. I did a show with Ruin Hammer a few weeks back, looking into the World Cup, and I was quite down on England. I said it was the worst squad I'd seen, and I didn't expect much out of them at all, and said they'll be second place in their pool behind Samoa, and well and truly humbled after that performance. Samoa just didn't come to the party for me, but England looked great. They looked like a legitimate threat. So fantastic display from them, and really disappointing from Samoa.
Yeah, look, I think for me, and I'm not sure if you feel this way as well, but straight after kickoff, I thought Samoa were on the back foot already. England too strong, too aggressive early, and Samoa again, just even when they had the ball in hand, right, especially when it was their turn to return serve, they just couldn't punch the line, as hard as England did. Why do you think it was that way? Like, why do you think England just came out so strong and dominant, especially against a tall Samoa team that was touted to run amok, as we all sort of thought?
Yeah, we talked a little bit before we went live. I think the team hasn't had a lot of time together yet, which, take it or not, it's an excuse, but not a good one. And England, they've got a lot to play for. They're playing at home. They're probably still hurting from losing the last World Cup in the final, so they want to have something to prove. And everyone has written them off beforehand. Even pundits in England said they don't have a shot. So there's a lot of pressure on them to prove everyone wrong. And they hit the ground running. And, it would be 60-0 if it wasn't for an intercept try. So, Samoa just never looked in it at all, which is shocking with the caliber of players they have.
No, I agree. Look, standouts for me for Toa Samoa, because I thought there were some despite the scoreline. I thought Bolo and Papali, I thought those two props there definitely worked well together. Brian Toa doing what he does for the Panthers, obviously in a Toa Samoa uniform, I thought he was okay. But for me, I just thought, what were your thoughts on the spine, particularly with Luai, Milford, and Levi, man? I just thought to myself, that was not on. What were your thoughts on that combination there?
Yeah, Jerome certainly misses Cleary, that's for sure. I feel like him and Milford are two similar players. They're both more live wire halves as opposed to a settler that can lead the side around, and I think that's where they're going to struggle. It's kind of an ongoing theme with a lot of the Pacific Island nations with their spines.
Yes.
They kind of got backs for days, amazing forward packs, but the spine's always a little bit less than what they would like. But Jerome's he's experienced at the top of the game, so I'm sure he will get into the right groove. But I'm just not sure. I think looking at the rest of their pool, they should still be fine to get second place, but I'm not as confident that they'll go deeper than that now.
Well, look, I'll tell you what. I'm very excited for Torsamo versus France now. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
It probably wasn't supposed to be like that, but there I am. Who in the before we sort of move on to the next game, who in the English squad, I suppose, for you sort of stood out? For me, you had Tommy Mackinson in one end of the wing there, Mackinson there, and you had Dominic Young, Sam Tompkins, fullback. Who was your favorite? Who was your standout?
It's Dom Young. I love him. I was singing his praises when the Knights signed him,
Yes.
when he came over from England. And his first year wasn't that great, but he started to find his groove in the NRL this year, and it's just showing on the international stage now as well. And I think he's got the potential to be a superstar winger. So I got to go with him. And he's had a rough couple of weeks with some offhanded comments in England about his selection. So it was good to see him come out and have a strong game.
He was superb. He was superb. Look, and what I've done as well for every game, guys, if you're not aware, I've actually placed a question as well. And I suppose we may have already touched on, I'm not too sure, but I guess the question to you, Brad, ultimately at the end, I mean, obviously you did touch on the fact that the players could have, probably played more games together. But could you find another reason behind that? What went wrong with Torsamo? Was it just the chemistry, perhaps? Some players giving up late? What was, where did it all sort of go wrong? Lack of intensity, aggression?
It was the scoreline went wrong for them there. I think I saw a comment earlier. Someone said that they thought Samoa lacked heart. Yeah. I think that second part where he said, I think they went into it expecting it to be easy. And maybe a bit too confident or too overconfident and not taking it as seriously as they should potentially.
Understood. All right. No worries. Well, there you go. That wraps up that game there. Australia 42, Fiji 8. What were your thoughts overall on the game?
It's kind of how I expected it, to be honest. Fiji, they lost 50-0 last week to England in a warm-up. So I was kind of expecting a 30-40 point margin. They scored first, though, and I thought they might be in for it, but they just didn't have the stamina to go 80 minutes with a star-studded team like Australia.
Yep, no, I agree. And I suppose that another point you touched on as well, with a lot of the Pacifica teams, the spine. and I suppose that's unfortunately just where it went wrong as well. And look, for mine personally, I just thought Australia did what they had to do. Albeit it probably wasn't even their best game. I think a lot of them probably came out away, thinking they could have done better, which is good for them and I suppose not good for everyone else. But in saying that, Fiji, they can take a lot away from that game. They didn't give up when it got a bit tough. They were still trying to hang on, trying to fight, which is what you want to see. Thankfully, the game wasn't too bad there. So another question I want to sort of throw to you, and again, guys in the comments there, please. Does the Australian depth work for or against them? For example, DCE was playing. Obviously, Cleary's waiting. For example, they've got hookers there for days. They've got halves for days, backs, forwards for days. But in all seriousness, though, when push comes to shove in the finals, could the fact that they've got just too much depth, could that really work against them? Or do you think, nah, it's sweet as?
It's a double-edged sword. I feel you want to build combinations, so you basically, Mal Meninga's going to have to pick a side and stick with it. Obviously, I feel like a lot of that Australian team will stay, with the exception of DCE switching out for Cleary. That's probably the only main change I would make, and just let the combinations build. If they're chopping and changing because they've got that depth, that's when you'll start having hiccups. Yes, they've got quality all over the park, though. So, 9 times out of 10, they're going to get the win, regardless of who they throw in there. But if you go up against a Tonga or a New Zealand that have stuck with a team and built their way up, and then you just throw random people in, that's when you could get a bit of trouble. But come on, it's Australia.
Yeah, it is what it is. All right, next game here we have Scotland against Italy. And I guess arguably perhaps an upset, I suppose. I guess. What are your thoughts on this game all around?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's an upset or not because I didn't know much about either team. In the league capacity, I was like, I think I did pick Scotland though. But yeah, I didn't expect a scoreline like this. I thought this would be our first and only close game of the first round. but yeah, it was well done by Italy. Basically, a team full of players I don't really know, and showed some good quality in there. And Scotland, they showed a bit of heart at the end, showing that they weren't ready to quit. And yeah, these are teams that aren't going to, they're not expecting to go deep, but you want to see them be competitive, because more competitive these teams are, the better it is for the international game, and that's kind of what we're all here for. You don't want to get to a point where they can the World Cup and just do a Four Nations. So I thought it was a great game. It was probably one of the more, I don't want to say entertaining, because they've all been entertaining, but a narrow win, still decisive, but it was just good to see some unfamiliar players, I think.
I agree there. And again, welcome guys to the chat there as well. I encourage you to please ask questions. We're going to be going to the preview as well, talking about the games there, and I'm sure you guys are waiting for us to talk about Papua New Guinea and Tonga. So we will get there, guys. We will definitely get there. Look, just to quickly surmise the game for me, I thought it was actually quite surprising, only because I was really backing or hoping Scotland would win. Not hoping, but I just had this feeling they would, and obviously was not the case. Italy, for me, actually did well. They actually spread the ball well. Their spine was good. Obviously, the likes of Nathan Brown as well, right? He was almost playing like a bit of a Jake Trbojevic role at Manly. We sort of doing a bit of, passing here and there, which was sort of good to see. I thought Jake Meisen is his name. He's the winger there for Italy. He scored a hat-trick. And I believe that was the first hat-trick of the Rugby League World Cup. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was. So good work to Italy there. Not much to say there. Scotland, sure, a bit of heart at the end, but it wasn't really a brave performance from the Bravehearts, unfortunately. And the question to you, and I'm sure we'll touch this as well, can Italy cause an upset versus Fiji? Dosoviti?
I don't think so, but I haven't seen enough from Fiji to say that they're going to run away with it either. So I would sit on the fence, which is great when you ask a question to kind of not give you an answer. But I think they have all the potential. Like you said, they were showing good movement of the ball. They were doing all the basics right. And as long as you get the basics right, you're in with a shot.
Yeah. Agree there. And JTAC asked a question, does this guy have a channel? Brad, please, over to you. Just tell the viewers again where they can find you.
Yeah, so I don't have a YouTube channel or anything, but I've just got a Facebook page, which is probably the best, which is Rugby League Wrap-Up.
Screen below.
That one. Yeah, and that has any videos I do usually pop up on there. So
awesome, Ash. Thank you for that. The next game we saw, Caribbean Jamaica, right? Jamaica Reggae Warriors versus the Wolfhounds, Ireland. Unfortunately, a pretty one-sided game, but I suppose to be expected. Sorta. What are your thoughts on the game?
I enjoyed it. It was good to see Ireland have a bit of a runabout, and Jamaica, it's their first time on the big stage. We kind of expect them to go through. I dare say all their matches will probably be this type of scoreline, but it's the experience that they're going to get from this situation. And again, they're another team that I don't know a lot of players from Jamaica, but it's just great to see them there. And they qualified, so the only way you're going to get better is by getting into these things and giving it a stab. So hopefully we see some smaller score lines for them. But yeah, great for Ireland. It was a strong performance. Good to see Luke Keary was running around doing what he does best, and well done from them.
Yeah, well, Keary was quite merciless. I think there was no mercy there on his behalf. Look, for Jamaica, for those of you who don't know, just a quick rundown. They actually started their team in 2009. All right, so they're very, very young rugby league team, and I believe they qualified because they actually beat
Canada.
Who was it? So they versed, that's right. They beat Canada. That's right. To actually qualify in the Rugby League World Cup. So, and I suppose it goes back to, Brad, what you're talking about earlier with Italy and Scotland, that their hope of having teams be a bit competitive. And I'm sure you agree, the only way that can happen is not only just in the Rugby League World Cup, but actual genuine regular test fixtures, right? And hopefully this is the turn where we can see more of that stuff, a bit more of Ireland playing, Jamaica, all those minnow nations as well. And that's right. It's actually good to see Jamaica on the world stage, regardless of the result. The way I sort of saw it for mine, a bit gutted Jamaica couldn't score a try there. They looked very promising earlier on, but I think Ireland, their experience came into play there. Now for Jamaica, I'll tell you what, I'm not looking forward to that game against New Zealand.
No.
I'm not looking forward to that game at all, actually, because Ireland, I consider them one of the they're not really a strong nation at all. So for 2 points to 48 and then to versus New Zealand, anyway. The question here, and I suppose we all really answered it, so I think I'll just probably skip that one there. New Zealand 34, Lebanon 12. What are your thoughts on that game there, Brad? Please.
I was worried at the start. Lebanon came to fight. And it was great to see New Zealand and Lebanon are the strongest two teams in their pool. So if there was ever going to be a smaller scoreline for New Zealand, it was going to be in this one. So I didn't expect a huge blowout, but I was kind of expecting, them to get to 40 or 50 points. And they were clunky, a bit like the Samoan reasoning I made before, where it's the first time together. Jerome Hughes wasn't there, and a few things like that. But you saw it. Even though the points weren't coming, they were dominating the competition for the most part. They had a few tough calls by the refs. Makes me feel like I'm talking about Warriors games again. But like the first try for Lebanon, I didn't think was a try, but I thought it was a good first hit out for the Kiwis. And Lebanon, it showed that, they definitely are going to take second place in this pool. And I think they'll do some good things. It was just good to see guys like Mitch Moses and that actually out there and look like they cared. I don't want to make that sound disrespectful, but it looked like they cared about playing for Lebanon, as opposed to I just wanted to get into the World Cup through any team I could. So
2013, and I think even some teams in the 2017 World Cup, some of those teams were full of players like that.
Yeah.
Full of that. And I think this time here, genuinely, this World Cup here, I think for the first time in a long time, actually has players who actually genuinely want to play for that particular nation, which is, again, good to see. I suppose my own thoughts on the game before we get to the questions. Actually, I'll just read the comments first. We've got a question here from Fanatics, and again, welcome, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. Appreciate it very much. Question for Brad and HDB. Should Samoa change their spine for the next game? Have Shinaris Tavita start with Ruai, Crichton at fullback, Brown at hooker? What are your thoughts there?
I don't mind the idea of bringing Chanel in. I think I did see a comment pop up earlier where at the moment you got Milford and Jerome, who are two running halves, and it doesn't work. So Chanel has still got that side of him in there, but he's a more settled half. He could kind of be that guy that directs the team around, and I think it would help. I was surprised to see that he wasn't playing at all. I expected he'd at least be on the bench.
Facts. Yeah. No.
And Crichton. I still think there's Suwali. I think there's still a lot of potential in him. So I don't know if I'd throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet, but I think there'll be some changes for sure.
I agree. And I'm just tracking through the comments here. I think Samoa were not prepared mentally, and when England showed off their versatility, they weren't prepared mentally to get back on track. It looked like it, I suppose, especially the last even the last 15 minutes of that game in the second half. That was something else. You just knew the players were done. You just knew they were done. New Zealand and Lebanon definitely competitive, despite Duehi sent off for back chat. What are your thoughts on Duehi being sent off for back chat?
Yeah, I was surprised. I did see there was a post earlier on what he said. I won't say it on the show, but it didn't actually sound like it. I thought maybe a penalty, but I guess he got the ref on the bad day to be a red card. I expected it to be something really, really bad. It wasn't good. I think the commentators were saying, you're never going to win an argument against a referee. So I guess if you want to pull a positive out of it, it shows his passion. but yeah, it's not good. You don't want a player of his caliber getting sent off with a red in any game in a World Cup. So yeah, disappointing there, but yeah, it helped. It helped my Kiwis get the win, so I'll take it.
No, that's it. And a question here by King Alexander, and I'm happy to just answer it. So Jerome was injured, and Leota as well was injured. So both players they're injured. And like Brad touched on earlier with the review of the game, having Jerome Hughes there probably could have, it would have helped us a lot more. But in saying that, it is what it is. Hats off to Joe Manu as well, who had a brilliant game, I thought.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just going to ask this question here. I'll throw it. Please, people, if you agree, you disagree, let me know that it's okay. Some selection mistakes. I thought for mine, one player, and again, I'm not necessarily trying to, bag him out. It's just more so just my observation. Charles de Claude Cookstad, I thought he was just a little bit rough around the edges at centre position there. Yeah, looked a little bit out of place for me personally. And perhaps even foreign playing as well, right? I thought, again, obviously Jerome Hughes being out probably caused a lot of trouble there. But do you think there's been some selection mistakes overall? No, or do you reckon obviously that the right guys for the job there? Would you have brought someone in? Would you have left someone out? What are your thoughts overall?
I'm just trying to think who I'd put in the centres instead of Chance. I'm going blank on what are the actual centres they've got. Okay. They got Murata. I expect this. I expect Murata might end up in the centres when we get to the tail end, especially against Australia. If everything goes the way it's meant to, it's going to be Australia Kangaroos in the semis, and I think Maguire likes using Murata in the centres when you're playing against bigger centres. So he would potentially be against Latrell Mitchell. So I think you'll see him in there. And Foreign was brought in just because Hughes was injured. So I think once Hughes is back up and running, that will switch. But Foreign, he did a good enough job, as your commenter said there. But I think it was Joey Manu. He just had that game completely to himself. That solo try he got with the chip and then the spin. It's frustrating to see that he's going to be probably one of the better fullbacks in this World Cup and then go back to being a centre next year when he should be a fullback full-time, in my opinion. But it's kind of hard when you got Teddy there. So
Yeah. Roosters, lucky buggers, lucky. Oh, to have those problems. All right, so here we go, guys. Now we're coming to the meat pie of the video here. We're going to be basically reviewing the games, and I suppose just for pure entertainment, I'm not going to be reviewing the game, previewing the games in order. Right? I think we'll leave Tonga and Papua New Guinea last. You know what I mean? Just let you guys wait on just a little bit. But again, like I mentioned, I'm going to be doing a live tomorrow early in the morning. We've got France against Greece. What are your thoughts on this game here? Give me your I suppose, preview and tips.
I don't know a lot about either of these teams, but I'm going with France just due to they've had a bit more time. It hasn't been that long that playing rugby league's been legal in Greece. We've had the stories of them playing at midnight to qualify and stuff so they don't get arrested. I put Greece kind of around the Jamaica's type of situation where they're just learning the game. It's great that they're qualified, but France, they've got a stack of players playing Super League now. They kind of got that experience going, so they should have it here. But this might be the first actual competitive game, potentially.
Yeah, no, I hear what you mean. I for me lean heavily towards France, and I think France win this by, unfortunately for you, Brad, a big margin.
50, 60.
I know you're definitely begging for a close game, but I don't think you're going to be getting it early hours in the morning tomorrow, New Zealand, Australia time. Unfortunately, I think France will be too good. All right, so the next game here we have is this will be the second Pool D match. Wales and the Cook Islands. What are your thoughts on this game and who wins?
I'm going with the Cook Islands, being extremely biased. But I think they've got a good squad on paper, but I said the same about Samoa, so we'll see what happens there. But they're another developing team, but they've been putting on some real strong performances when they've played Papua New Guinea and Fiji and the like. So they've got some experience now. Wales, they're still another one of those little teams in the UK where they've got one or two, good players that have got experience, and they kind of got a lot of young heads. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, but I'd have to go with the Cook Islands.
Yeah, look, just speaking of one or two players, I think their captain is Elliot Kerr. He's a bit of a well-known figure in the Super League, and they've got, I think it's Aikens. He used to play for the Raiders from New Zealand. Yeah, Kiwi boy playing. So I think that's, in terms of knowing players, I think that's as far as it goes. Quite literally, two players there. So smack on the money there. For me, I think Cook Islands win. I also do have Cook Islands as a team that could potentially rock the boat, so to speak, in Pool D. So Pool D obviously starts Wednesday early hours in the morning there for us, or whatever. But I reckon there's still yet to be a big story told in that pool. That's what I'm going to say. Possibly. All right. Next game here we have is Australia against Scotland, and what's the verdict here, Brad?
Rinse and repeat what we saw Australia versus Fiji. I feel like Scotland, they put up a decent fight with Italy and still lost by 24 points. So 50-60 against Australia. Even if Australia rested everyone that played this week and put in their next side, as we talked about their depth, they'd still do the damage. So
I think it'll be one. Obviously, it will be one-sided. Australia 13+ for me. There's no other way to really explain it. I think Scotland are going to get a big hiding here, and I think potentially they'll probably finish dead last, which is not what I had them finishing at all. So there you go.
No,
I had them as potential upset as a team to potentially come second. That's what I had potentially, and now they're going to be dead last. So that happens sometimes. Fiji, Italy, we spoke about it earlier on. This is probably one of the bigger matches of the round, if you consider the fact that the winner here potentially ends up second place.
Yeah.
Can Forza Italia do something? Can the Italian Stallions pull off an upset here, or do you think Fiji are just too clinical at the end?
I think Fiji should have this one in the bag, but it'd be a hell of a story if Italy could get the upset here. I think Fiji will just be too strong, and they'll be hurting from that loss against Australia. They know they left a lot of points on the table, so I think they'll come back strong.
All right, here we go. Okay. England versus France, and I suppose I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. Obviously, France have yet to play, but hey, it is what it is. England, their next game will be against France, and it'll be like a 5-day turnaround almost for France, actually. So they play tomorrow, right? And then they literally, I think, 5 days have England. What are your thoughts on this game here?
I think England will be too strong. I've really turned on my opinion of them. So I always would have. I think the only game I thought England were going to lose in the pools was against Samoa. I thought they'd cruise against everyone else. So it should be rinse and repeat. And we haven't seen France play yet, so I'm not too sure on how much strike power they're actually going to have. But England should still be comfortable. But I'd like to see France push them to the limit, if possible.
Yeah, I agree. Hot take here, and I know France haven't played Greece yet, but I think France will do well comfortably. Hot take here, France will be more challenging than Samoa were. That is my take. And it probably isn't a hot take at all. All right. New Zealand versus Jamaica. We all know Jamaica are going to be bringing the reggae style, right? As said by their coach there, Romeo Monteith. But in saying that, in all seriousness, what do you think? Give me a score prediction, actual genuine score predictions. Do we see a triple figure, or do you reckon we just get to close to it?
I'm gonna be more nice to Jamaica and say 70.
Yeah,
it's. I know that doesn't sound good, but when you said in New Zealand versus Jamaica, I saw 100 in my head, but I don't think we're going to get that far. But I think 70 points. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If they don't win by 60 or more, people will be criticizing them. So they're in a rock and a hard place, New Zealand there, but they shouldn't struggle against Jamaica. And I'll put that whole wanting to make a statement after what was, a surprisingly close game against Lebanon today. I think they'll want to make a statement against Jamaica, unfortunately for Jamaica.
And I think Theo seems to sort of share your thoughts there. New Zealand were disappointed with their combinations in their last match. Jamaica are in for a beating. And unfortunately, it's not reggae music this time. So it is what it is. I generally see this game here being one-sided. But at the same time, I think there'll be a point in the game that Madge will tell the boys just to, ease up a bit, just a little bit. You know what I mean? Probably test out a bit of combinations. What do you do when it's like not even half time yet and the score's like 40 something? I suppose you sort of come back in the second half and sort of take your foot off the accelerator. I think anyway.
Yeah,
that's what I don't know. Do you agree? Disagree with that, Brad?
Yeah, I think once you've got your cricket score up, that's maybe try some other things out that you don't want to try against in Australia or a Tonga or in England. So bit more. It's just about getting runs on the board for them, really.
Yeah. Lebanon versus Ireland. Obviously, both these teams have had good wins. Though in saying that, I think most pundits will be leaning towards Lebanon. Can you give me a case as to why you think, sorry about this, Ireland can win?
I think I'll go. It's a tough question. I'll go to the cliches. If they can win in the forward pack, Ireland have some big boys. If they do that, it can nullify Mitch Moses. We've seen what happens in the NRL with Moses. Sometimes if his forward pack isn't doing their job, he disappears.
Yes.
That's really, I feel like the only weakness they could exploit is, win that battle up the middle and take Moses out of the game. And if you take him out, you've got a good chance. I don't see it happening, but that would be my mindset if I was coach. Nullifying their impact in the middle.
Yeah, understood. With Dohi being sent for descent, sorry, will he be off for a week or does he come back and play? Do you know the ruling around that? Do you know what's happened there or not much?
There's been no news on it yet. I know they're ready to fight if it is that situation to make sure he doesn't miss a week. But there's been no comms from the officials about what would be happening. I hope not. I don't think it was as bad as what people have said at home. He shouldn't have said it. I'm not condoning him, swearing at the ref and whatnot. But we've seen a lot worse get off. So I'm hoping not. It would be a detriment to the World Cup. I'll pull the Peter V'landys thing out. It's for the fans. We need to keep him there. It's for the Lebanese fans. They need him there. So you have to let him play.
Quick question. If he was out, say he was, right, much to the detriment of the game, as you explained, do Ireland stand a genuine chance?
I think so. Mitch Moses can probably do a lot of it on his own, but having Adam out there with him just makes their halves a lot more dangerous. So if he's not playing, Ireland definitely have a bigger shot.
And I think for myself personally, Lebanon actually have one of the more genuinely underrated halves pairings in the Rugby League World Cup. You can definitely stack them, across some of the bigger names, I think anyway, such as the quality of their halves pairing. Now, this is the second to last preview before we get into the big one. Samoa versus Greece. So this will be the second game. This will be Samoa's basically return game from that unfortunate mishap there. Samoa, Greece, what are your thoughts on it? And do you think Samoa will come back with a lot of fire this time around?
Yeah, I think they've gone from the dark horse to the laughingstock. So this will be it's going to be a cricket score. It has to be. If Greece take it to them and make it look a lot more competitive than it should be, then Samoa, everyone will completely write them off as chances. So they've got no choice. It has to be a big blowout.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think for mine, Tor Samoa will probably look, if this is, how do I say this? If this is the way it is going to go for them, I do see this game here being a game, like you said, they've got to come back strong. This is their bounce back game. And if they want to try and make inroads in the finals, if they can even get that deep after that unfortunate performance, they need to win and win well, and obviously go and climb from there, in my opinion. Now, guys, we have the main event of the evening, the Wednesday night or morning special, depending on where you are. We have Tonga against Papua New Guinea. Brad, please give me your thoughts. How do you dissect this game here? Where is it won? Where is it lost? Over to you, brother.
I think this could legitimately be the first tight contest of the World Cup. We France and Greece might surprise us and be a nail biter, but this is the first game where you've got two legitimate top sides clashing, and I'm edging on. I think Tonga will do it, but Papua New Guinea they've got an underrated side. I think there's a lot of quality players in there. That they don't give up. They hit you as hard in the first minute as they do in the 80th. And it's going to be physical as well, which is always great to watch. But Tonga, they've got a great side. They've still got a halves issue as well. It's not a halves I would be confident in, but it's probably the best that they have to select. So I think it'll be a great clash. But yeah, it's going to be tight. I really couldn't put money on either side and be 100% confident that they're going to get the win. I think Tonga will do it, but if Papua New Guinea win, I wouldn't be overly shocked either.
No, I think there's a fair assessment here. And Brad, I'll just name for you just the Papua New Guinean backs here. Just give you a bit of context as well if you're not aware. So their fullback is Alex Johnston. Their wingers are Nana McDonald as well as Xavier Coates. All right. Their centers are Justin Olam as well as Roderick Tai, and their halves are Caleb Labert, who's been a veteran, I think, anyway, for Papua New Guinea, and also Lachlan Lamb. So those names are just named there particularly for the Papua New Guinean backs. What do you think of them, and do they have a lot of points in them out there?
I think so. When you got Coates who knows how to score a try, Alex Johnston who is the master of it.
That's right.
Lachlan Lamb has shown himself to be a capable half. I know he has had his ups and downs NRL level, but whenever he gets to play for PNG, he always seems to find another level. And then, he's got a veteran with him, which is going to help. Justin Olam's one of the deadliest centers out there on both sides of the ball.
Yes.
It's a very capable backline. It's a scary backline.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll just name here the Tongan backline as well while we're at it. So, Torotau Koula, Daniel Tupou, Will Penisini, Moses Suli, Sione Katoa, Taratau Amone, as well as Tui Mara Lolohea. And just for yourself there, naming those players, are there any that sort of jump out at you, or what are your thoughts generally on the team there?
It's another great backline. I'm concerned with Lolohea. He's very rocks and diamonds, which isn't really something you want in your halves pairing. But they got some great strikes outside backs as well. I think Tonga potentially going very deep. I wouldn't be surprised if you see them in the final. I had them beating England to get into the final. I'm not so sure now. But they're definitely on that side of the whole World Cup. It's them and England right now, I believe, and that's before they've even played. But yeah, I think Tonga are just a very dangerous side, and it's a side that's played together a lot. So they've got combinations built up, and they've worked together a lot. So it makes them very dangerous. But yeah, Papua New Guinea are just always in the fight. So
no, look, I agree with you. I think ultimately, if you look at Tonga's weaknesses, for me, it still lays in the spine, particularly in the halves. It is what it is. Now, if you don't mind, I'm just going to actually name up the forwards. All right. So for Papua New Guinea here, they're forwards. You've got Wellington Albert, Edwin Ipape, Sylvester Namo, Nixon Putt, Reece Martin, a former Bulldogs player, as well as Jacob Ellick. And I'm not sure if you know these players too well, but I'm sure we've seen them play. What do you make of the Papua New Guinean forwards overall? We all know when they put on that jersey, much like Mate Matonga, they're ready to die in the field there. What are your thoughts on the Papua New Guinean forward pack?
Yeah, I don't know enough about them I think there'll be players that I've seen and I'll recognize them when I see them playing, but recognizing the names I don't. But yeah, they're all big, physical, just traditional PNG built players. And they're all got tanks on them. They're general forwards that can play all day, which is a terrifying prospect to have to play against.
It is. And for the Tongan forward pack as well, guys, before we wrap it up, we got Adam Whanua-Blake, Sonny Luke, Sio Tauke Aho, Felice Kaufui, sorry, Kion Kolomatangi, as well as Haumole Olokau Atu. What do you make of some of those players there?
I think they're in talks with New Zealand and Australia for probably the best named packs in the comp. Samoa do have a bit of a run in there, but there's just legitimate stars everywhere. You probably say the weakest link is Luke.
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, you got genuine dangerous level NRL level forwards everywhere in that pack. And it's just scary. They're very it's great to see. It's so many of those players weren't playing for Tonga not that long ago, and it's great to see the shift they made, and I feel it was their sacrifice to make that decision has changed the landscape of the World Cup we're in now. Because I think if you didn't see Whanua-Blake and all that make that jump early on, you wouldn't see the players playing for Samoa and the likes. So yeah, it's really a credit to Tonga. I'm jumping on their bandwagon. It's a credit to them about how more excited I think a lot of people are about this World Cup.
Yeah, well, look, I'm definitely excited for this game here. I'm looking forward to it. I've already had my tip here, but I'm saying that the closer it gets, the more the more undecided I am. Ultimately, it's going to be a game where will be a lot of smash and bash and crash, I think. There's going to be a lot of players putting on big shots on each other. I know that for a fact that's going to happen here. But it's going to be a game I think that I may need a team with a bit of a good kicking game plan to sort of, be the difference, I think anyway. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to this game, though, nonetheless. All right, there, guys. So I've got one more question here for Brad before we wrap things up. So far, the games, who is your player? Who's your favorite player thus far with the games, the 5 games, the last 5 games? Who's your favorite?
Yeah, I'm going to do it on your show because I've got people know I love props.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going with either a fullback or a winger right now. So we never tell anyone this. It's either Dominic Young or Joey Manu for me.
Okay.
Just I have a soft spot for both of them, but I think they both really played well. And I'm biased against Australia, so I don't talk about this. But I think Dominic Young, it's just more the story. Like I said, you had those people in the media saying he shouldn't be playing for England. He should be playing for Jamaica and things like that. So that whole story along it and him playing really well just kind of cemented it that he does belong in the England jersey. So I'm probably leaning more towards him, but Joey Manu, he's a fan favorite of mine. So I'll split it both ways.
Yeah, no, look, for me, I think my favorite player so far is Dominic Young, personally.
Yeah.
I just can't get over the intensity he brought in that game, his tries, and I guess just how slick he looked. I think he had like 9 runs, over 100 meters, and he scored 2 tries. That's an amazing stat, Just over 100 meters, 9 runs, 2 tries. That's pretty full on. So for me so far, I think he's my favorite player to watch so far. And I'm looking forward to seeing how sort of he progresses. And obviously at the same time as well, how Joey Manu progresses. I'm hoping New Zealand can sort of lift up more so he doesn't have to sort of carry him on his shoulders, so to speak there. But in saying that, guys, that is us for now. Brad, before we head off as well, can you please, again, just tell everyone there where to find you, where you're at, and do you have any sort of closing words?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me on again. You're doing a lot of hard work for this World Cup, so big ups to you there. I know it's not easy getting up early in the morning for all these things and juggling, personal work life around it. So full credit goes to you for all the work you're doing there. And yeah, if you want to follow me, it's Brad Inga3 on Instagram, Inga's League Wrap-Up on Facebook. And if you're interested, check out my show on Wednesday nights. 8 p.m. New Zealand time, so I'm not sure I'm not good with time zones right now.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's always a good time. It's me and my mate Richie go in there and talk. So yeah, if you can, come check us out.
Awesome, as and guys, I hope you go and do the same there, and go check out Brad Inger's league wrap-up, is Inger's league wrap-up, sorry, and Brad Inger 3 on Instagram as well. And again, thank you, Brad, for joining us. Thank you again for your input, your opinions, and again, thank you for continuing to support the Warriors. I mean, come on, I think we've got to say that before we head off, but in all seriousness, though, thank you again. But take it easy, guys. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the Rugby League World Cup, and you know what to do. If you guys want your team to do what they do, hold the ball. Take it easy. See you guys next time. Bless you.
Cheers.